Okay, everybody. So there will be more folks logging in, but we're going to get started because we have a lot to cover today. So for those of you who are new to our space, welcome to our virtual space. For those of you who are not new and join us usually every month, welcome back. It's really nice to see you. My name is Ani Aleman, Innovation Director here at Ascender. Ascender is Pittsburgh's community for entrepreneurs. We offer incubation, educational programming that is free and open to all every month. We run a co-working space located near Bakery Square. We offer mentorship, expert coaching, and a variety of programs that are all designed and coordinated to help entrepreneurs grow. And so if you don't know about us or would like to learn more in-depth information about our programs, I highly encourage you to check out our website where we have a lot of our programs and all of the things that we do. And also, and if you haven't already done so too, we also have a great newsletter that we publish twice a month with a lot of resources, important information, deadlines, and more resources that can benefit your learning as you go. So just a couple of announcements before we get started. Today's event is part of our free monthly programming. Each month, we zero in on a topic that is critical to the success of entrepreneurs in our community. This month's theme is Accelerate Your Success, and you can find additional articles, templates, and videos and the recordings, just like today's sessions there, for you to continue learning on your own and for you to complete exercise and read articles that can really help you figure out how do you accelerate your success, and especially as we are winding down with the year and like in the process of planning of what 2022 would look like for you and your business. So check out our page for more information and also for the recordings of today's session. This year we learned a lot in regards to like how resilient our entrepreneurs are. So in order to culminate the year and to celebrate our entrepreneurs in our community, we are hosting a virtual year-end community celebration on December 8th. Network, connect, celebrate the resilience of entrepreneurs in our community with Ascender. This would be a great opportunity for a lot of folks to connect virtually, to really find out what's next in regards to Ascender in 2022, and also just like celebrate and reflect on this past year and what it brought to us, and then like share your aspirations for 2022 and or some things that you are working on right now for all of us to expect. So sign up now on Eventbrite, and we'll love to see you there on December 8th. But without further ado, I want to move over to the session today. I am very excited and honored to have LaTrenda Sherrill join us in our Ascender virtual space. LaTrenda has been a friend of Ascender, but an advisor and a supporter in many ways. So really excited to have her today to discuss something about how do you really. I wanted to ask LaTrenda to come in and tell us and share with us a little bit more about how do you think about growth and put it at the center of all of your work. How do we explore daily practices that can make you more productive as an entrepreneur, and really think about what are some ways to get productive, organized, to speed up and accelerate your growth personally, but also how does that translate to your business? So LaTrenda serves as the lead consultant for Common Cause Consultants, an organizational consulting firm that helps nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and private companies address social concerns related to education, outreach, policy, and equity, and among many things. So I'm going to let LaTrenda actually tell us a little bit more about herself, and then kick us off with the session and what we will be learning today. So LaTrenda, the mic is yours.
Awesome. Hello, all. I am excited to be here. Had some challenges today, boy, I tell you, but I am here and I made it on time. I mean, that is a feat for me. I have 3 children, so I made it. I feel so accomplished. So I'm going to share my screen, and we practiced this earlier. So if I have issues, just say a prayer for me. if you pray. So I'm excited to chat with you today about this idea around growth mindset. I do feel like as an entrepreneur, it is one of the things that, if you don't embrace, if you don't fully lean into, right, you will not only limit yourself, but totally limit the outcomes that can happen for your company, and for the outputs of your work, right? And ultimately affect your revenue. And we definitely want to be mindful of how something affects our money. And so just wanted to share with you a bit about my company before I sort of got into the presentation. The work that I do really focuses on nonprofits, government agencies, and private companies, and then sort of addressing issues of equity and justice. And I do that through strategic planning, research, and meeting facilitation. And so that's me. And just so you know, some of the organizations that I've connected with, and the folks that I've done some work with in the region, we really pride ourselves on being sort of these action oriented, sort of, on call solutions related to strategy. And so many folks really come to us with an issue that they're having on some sort of equity continuum. It could be very much related to systems like the criminal justice system, anything in the juvenile justice space, or it could be connected to something as sort of broad, as we are growing our company, and throughout the pandemic we've grown from 4 folks to now we have 12 folks, and we work in the issues, or on the sort of spectrum of equity and justice. And so knowing what you know about those issues, can you come in and do some type of strategy session with us and facilitate a retreat for us on our own growth? So just helping people think about these things from the business perspective, and also from the policy research and engagement perspective. Okay. All right. And just doing a check to make sure you can still see my screen and the things are still moving. Good stuff. Okay. And so what we're going to walk through today. So really, right, what are your goals, right? And what are the items that are keeping you from achieving your goals? And then how do we attack those things? Can we create some steps to do that? And then we're going to sort of round out the conversation with just, some open dialogue around pricing, some open dialogue around, some strategies that we can keep to sort of stay on track with what we're hoping those goals are to get us to the growth that we need to maintain. Okay. And so that's just a little bit more about our agenda today. And so, what is a limiting belief, right? As I said, the goal of the workshop is to think through those items that are keeping us from achieving our goals. And so, I want you to think about, just look at this picture, right? And in effect, it shows this cycle, and that limiting beliefs are thoughts, convictions, or opinions that we believe to be absolute truths that hold us back in some shape or form. As a result, they prevent us from growing, achieving our goals, taking risks, or even new opportunities, right? They keep us from becoming the people that we want to be. And business mindset coach Nina Cook summed it up nicely, by saying, many limiting beliefs are created in our childhood. Devastatingly, they become a part of our identity. Mistakenly, we think these stories are keeping us safe, protecting us from rejection and humiliation. And the reality is, they're just stories we make up in our head by attaching made up meanings to events, and they cost us dearly in our lives. Okay. And so, looking at this cycle, what does it bring up for you? Looking at this sort of visual, what does this bring up for you? And I want you to reflect on something in the chat. Is there a limiting belief that you have related to yourself that affects your business? And I want you to think on that for a moment and type it in the chat. Pulling up the chat here, trying to get to all my screens. And don't be afraid. And there's another sort of book. It's actually called, well, there's like a curse word in it. So I guess I'm not going to say the title, but, the book, the quote says, this on the screen. Sorry, I'm like doing multiple things at once. With this screen. Okay. There we go. uh, we like to imagine ourselves to be the victims of our own limiting beliefs, right? And we adopt these beliefs because they serve us in some way, right? And so, how are these beliefs serving you, right? And how are they either protecting you from further struggle, failure, or risk? And that's something, that's what a limiting belief is in our life, right? It nurtures us and it keeps us from taking the risk that we know we need to take, right? Making this decision that we know we need to make. But there's something about it that is nurturing us, right? It's cloaking us in some sort of armor. And it's just something for us to be mindful about. um Self-confidence, I see in the chat. um Other people must have better ideas than me. I won't be able to handle everything all at once. Writing takes a long time. I'm not capable. Also, self-confidence, self-worth. I mean, that, it in itself is so real, right? That whole idea that, maybe I'm not worthy of what I'm achieving, or what I'm gaining, or anything like that. So keep those in mind as we go throughout the next few slides. I definitely want you to sort of begin to reflect on those. And so limiting beliefs take us to this idea, right, of growth mindset. Um, you know, I think that when we are entrepreneurs, right, many of us, and I don't know about you, but many of us are, one of few entrepreneurs in our family. And so my biggest limiting belief was that, one, no one was going to pay me. My network, isn't worthy enough, and they aren't going to see me as an expert. So I don't have the network that's going to pay me what I deserve. And also, the network that I do have, they're not going to see me as the person who can do this, right? And so, as an entrepreneur, that's been something that I've had to struggle with throughout every proposal, everything that every price that I've set, right? Every time I've pressed submit on a report, I had to struggle with the idea that, like, hey, like, I can do this. I have the ability to do this, right? And so, with limiting beliefs, right, there's this idea of a fixed mindset, and then there's this idea of a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that we can't change what's in front of us. There are a number of obstacles in our way, and there are a number of things that are happening in our space. We don't have a mentor, so no one, so we don't know the way, or we don't have a trust fund. So how can we pay for our work, right? A fixed mindset is saying, I can't be successful because I don't have X, Y, or Z. But right, that mindset again is what it was. It stops us, it protects us in some way, it serves us, and keeps us from taking that risk. And what we really need to think about is developing a growth mindset and acknowledging those self-imposed limits, and changing our outcomes, right? And we know, again, that there are all kinds of systemic things that can totally get in the way of entrepreneurs taking the next step, especially if you are a Black and brown entrepreneur, right? There are real things that are in our space and in our way that are not going to get us to where we need to be. But, right, there are places where we can start. And we have to go into something with the idea that something can be fixed, right? I can do something right now today to change the outcome that I want to see in my life, in my business. And are there things that I am self-imposing, right, that will not get me to my outcome? Okay. And so, sort of this next slide, making sure I'm getting there. There's my share. Okay. All right. Oh, and y'all can't see that. Okay. Can you see? Did you see me zoom in?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So this next slide are sort of, this is like, the two like opposing ideas around mindset, right? This fixed mindset and this growth mindset that I talked about, right? Folks with fixed mindsets, they do a number of things, and you can see that on the side, right? And I want you to sort of look at this and reflect on, are you doing some of these things located on this fixed mindset slide? Are there any ones that you can identify that you feel like you are exhibiting yourself? And those are the ones in blue. I'm looking at the chat here. Definitely effort, avoiding challenges, right? And why do you think you do that? Like, why are we avoiding those challenges? And why are we so cautious? What are we protecting ourselves from? What are we protecting ourselves from? Those are the things that we have to consistently consider as it relates to thinking about how to grow from this fixed mindset to a growth mindset, right? We have to look at each of these pieces and take them for what they are and really lean into them, right? But also interrogate them as well. Okay. There it is. Okay. So we have to attack these limiting beliefs, right? And one way that I like to attack my limiting belief is I like to write them down and I break them down. Okay. And so I ask myself, what is the issue? If I'm avoiding challenges, right? Let's talk about what has happened when I've avoided challenges. Okay. Let's talk about that. And why have I avoided those challenges? And then how is it serving or protecting me? Okay. And so if you have a sheet of paper, take the time that the challenge that you identified on the growth mindset slide or the limiting belief slide, take the time to break this down. What is the issue? Why is it the issue? Why is this the issue? And how is it serving or protecting me? And as an example, right, one of the things that, and don't look on the left-hand side first, I kind of like give you a preview of what we should be doing. But on the left-hand side, right, my biggest issue for myself is around my own growth as a business owner, right? I am so afraid of failing, right? I'm afraid that I am not going to do what needs to be done. I am not going to deliver, right? That whole imposter syndrome thing. Like, I am genuinely afraid of it all. And so I don't have the capacity. I make excuses. I don't have the capacity to take anything else on, right? I have too many requests for projects. and it is keeping me and the why, sort of like, what is it protecting me, or how am I being protected? Let me, like, this is sort of the way in which I'm framing these questions, right? The issue is I don't have the capacity to take anything else on. Why is this the issue? Because I have too many requests for projects. And then how is it protecting me? It is keeping me from having to deal with growth in my business. And so I want you to take some time to think about this. Write some limiting beliefs down that you have. What is the issue? Why is it the issue? And how is it serving or protecting you? Okay? Take 2 minutes, literally, just to write a few things down. 2 minutes. Okay? Would anyone like to share what they're writing? Feel free to unmute yourself. I am an unmuter. Okay.
I can share.
Go
If
ahead.
you want, I can share.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess one of the limiting beliefs, like I mentioned, is I guess it kind of centers around capability. Like I'm not capable of building I guess the business that I kind of envision, or I don't have the tools or what it takes. Um so I think like there's some self-sabotage that happens there. Um yeah. Um and it's not serving or protecting me at all. I guess in my mind it's like, oh, because I mean, where the self-sabotage comes in, it's like, okay, this is so that you don't fail. Like, I don't know if that kind of yeah, but that's kind of a theme that I noticed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Gotcha. Awesome. I think none of our limiting beliefs serve us, right? But they definitely keep us from achieving our goal, right? Like, they keep us from taking that next step because of the risk. I mean, we're afraid, right? We're all afraid in some way, shape, or form. Would anyone else like to share anything? Okay. And so the other thing I want you to sort of do, right, on that one side sheet of paper, right, that you've written down these limiting beliefs, I want you to attack the limiting belief with like the positive of it, right? And so I have said to myself, like, while I don't have the capacities to take anything else on, right, I have the capacity for more work. I think I have too many requests for projects. I have work that is fruitful and fulfilling. Is it keeping me from having to deal? It is keeping me from having to deal with growth in my business. I am ready to grow. And so I want you to take each of those statements that you sort of shared in terms of these beliefs, and I want you to craft the positive pieces of it, right? I want you to think about one, you know, starting with this abundance idea, right? So I have X, Y, and Z to get to whatever that goal is. Start from an abundant sort of place, and then think about what you're ready for when you think about what your your belief or your fixed mindset is keeping you from, right? What are you ready for? So start with I have X, Y, and Z, right? Think through, think about being abundant, right? Living in abundance, and then talk through what you're ready to do. Okay? And take a couple moments to do that as well. Does anyone have any questions about this particular piece, or is there something that you're struggling with here? I could actually stop sharing so you can see my face. Any thoughts here? What are your goals? And I definitely want to chat this out. Looking for folks. And I'm always very happy to call on people. I facilitate a lot of workshops, And so if you don't want me to call on you, you can exit now. But maybe Julianne, what are your thoughts? Oh, thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Um, I would say it's kind of funny. Like I was going into this sort of workshop, like thinking about asking essentially the question that you are showing and you're answering, like exactly like, how do I get myself out of my way into being able to accept that I can do more work and not be like too nervous that there's too much on my plate or that there's too many opportunities, which I'm sure like too many opportunities does not sound like a bad thing. But as soon as I start applying for things, my mind goes, oh my God, what if I get them? And then I realize like, could I actually take all of these? Like, can I actually do them well enough that people will want to do more projects with me or hire me back? And it's sort of like this balance of how many things have I applied to versus how many things do I think I can get versus how many things do I think I can get and do well. And it's like exactly what your example was for me.
That's good. I would say too, right? I think I go through that same process, right? Every time there is an RFP out, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, I should apply for this, but am I ready? Do I have the like? Can I do it? I go through this whole line of questioning. Can I do it? And I think um, thinking about right that sort of right hand side of things, you know, I have the capacity to do more work. If to me, my goal is to consistently say that when I see new opportunities. And as I consistently say that, right, I have to figure it out. I got to do it, right? And so it doesn't mean that I don't have to do some work towards that goal, right? I have the capacity to do more work means, okay, maybe I need to figure out how to build in my capacity to do more work, right? Or if there's something that I feel like I don't have the capacity right now and I know I want to do this, well, let me apply for the thing, right? Because I have the capacity to do more work is going to make sure I apply for the thing, right? And then if I get the thing, then let me deal with my capacity. But it's literally going to push me to not miss on opportunities that I feel are right for me. There is something about um, if there are opportunities continuing to come to you, right? Like there are things that are just, your inbox is blowing up. It just seems like everywhere you go, you're finding someone who needs your services. To me, there's something there. Something is being reinforced like, hold on, maybe the universe is telling me I need to get the capacity, right? And so how do I shift from I don't have the capacity, I have to stop saying no, which is what I tried to do this year. I definitely said no for a bunch of things that totally, weren't on my path, but I definitely focused on if it fit a number of things for me, I said yes. Because I needed to stop limiting myself related to my growth. I would encourage everyone. So as you think about those right hand things, that's that sort of abundance um, mindset, those statements, those affirmations, right? As you think about those things, I want you to relate that or compare that to whatever your goal is, right? For me, I have a revenue goal for my business, right? I've set a revenue goal every single year. And I have to think about pretty often, well, what is keeping me from getting to that goal? And most of the time, it is in my daily habits and the things that I tell myself consistently, right? Like if I'm consistently saying I don't have the capacity to do the work right now, and I have this revenue goal that I have not met, you know, you have to do some comparison there. You have to really think about, well, like, what do I need to change? And so the things that are keeping you from meeting your goals, how do you figure out how to affirm those things, attack them head on, affirm them, and make steps, create steps to meet those, to overcome those sort of fixed mindsets, but also to meet your goal. Okay. And so I hope that your goals, right? You're totally trying to affirm yourself with some of these things, some of these limiting beliefs that are keeping you from your next step. I hope you're trying to really think about, right? How do I live in abundance and create these affirmations for myself so I can then meet my goals? Are there other folks that are having some trouble sort of thinking about, you know, what else can I do? Or what's keeping me from getting to sort of that next step? What's holding me back?
I have a question, LaTrenda, related to this. So do you sort of like think about this limiting beliefs and then sort of like, you know, the affirmation phrases on a daily basis, or when you are become aware that maybe you have some negative thoughts, or like, how do you make integrated?
Yeah, no, I do a lot of reflecting. And pretty sure I got to figure out my next slide. I think I was going to try to share it. I do a ton of reflecting. And so I usually incorporate a bunch of these things into one. I have a weekly reflection that I do because I look at how do I plan for my next week, right? I think the biggest thing as an entrepreneur is like making time to do the business. So do whatever work it is, and then administer the business, right? Do the work of the business. And so I usually incorporate a lot of this into my doing the business and doing the work of the business. And so thinking about all of that, right? After you're done with doing some of your work, hopefully you're scheduling in time on a weekly basis to do this reflection, especially about whatever these affirmations that you're setting for yourself are. Like hopefully you're taking some time to reflect on these things on a weekly basis. I would hope that you would set affirmations at least quarterly, right? Reflect every quarter on the things that you want to change. How did this quarter go? Right? I constantly look at my weeks and the things that have gone by for me, right? Like I didn't get any rest, right? I'm tired, I'm irritable, I'm not as creative as I want to be, right? What is it about my habits are keeping me from my creativity or from the entrepreneur that I want to be, the parent I want to be, the person I want to be, right? And so I think about, okay, I have to rest, right? That has also become a mantra for me, at least over the past, I would definitely say the past quarter, just because I have a third child now that is under one. And all of my children are 5 and under. So I have 3 children. And so I have to rest limits the things that I can do, right? I'm too tired, I have to rest, right? That becomes a thing that I consistently ensure that I'm saying and I'm checking on, as it relates to just, me not being myself, but also knowing the balance that I want in my life. My growth, my goal for my business is balance, right? And so I have to rest becomes a part of that goal for myself in my business. And so what are those big goals for you, right? As an entrepreneur, you're a whole person, right? Like you should have a personal goal, right? You should have a personal goal as it relates to your business, or the things that you want to develop, that you want to see, that you want to, become more of in the business. You should have your business goals, right? Those revenue things, those systems, all of those other things to think about, right? Think about those two alongside each other and create affirmations connected to that, because I do think that it just I feel like there are things that you can will, right? There are lots of things that are just out of our control. But when I literally say, I said to myself this year, I have the capacity to take on more work, knowing good and well, I got to work towards that capacity, right? I applied for my first $100,000 contract and I got my first $100,000 contract. Now, that's a big deal for me. I don't have a trust fund. I just started in my business with my computer, my laptop that got stolen, but my laptop and no capital. This was just, my laptop and a dream. And so, like how change your mind. Find a way to change your mind. What is keeping you from getting to where you need to be? What is limiting you to achieving your goals? And switch those things up. Switch them up just a little bit and press submit. That's what I like to say. Switch it up and press submit. Okay. All right. Let me get to some of these last slides. Sorry, y'all. I started talking too much. Okay. So other ways to think about attacking some of these beliefs, right? You know, one of the things for me as it relates to my business has always been around my processes, right? And like, my capacity, I cannot extend my capacity. I cannot get to my goals if I don't do certain things in my business, if I don't set up the systems in my business that allow me to replicate what I know needs to happen so that I can scale things. And so, me trying to figure out like how to ensure that I have a growth mindset in my business meant me knowing my processes in and out so that I can replicate them for someone else to do. Right. And so if I want to scale my business, if I know I don't have the capacity to get to where I want to go, I need to figure out how to build in the capacity, right? And then also know my processes. So I know them. I've hired an intern before in the past to document them, and then I've hired someone at a different level to carry them out, right? It's I definitely feel like you can will certain things, but you also got to back it up with some action, and these are sort of those steps that I'm trying to put into place to back up some things with some action. Know what your metric of success is related to that process. And so, if it's a revenue goal, if it's getting more sleep, if it's all of those things, right? Again, affirmation is cool, but figure out what that metric needs to be of success related to that process to make it happen. And then that hire someone else to do it is totally connected to knowing your processes in and out, but also, I think if there are beliefs that you have that are limiting, right? Like, I'm the type of person that I feel like, man, because I'm not detail oriented. So I totally feel like I'm going to submit something that isn't of caliber for my client. Right. And so I was just like, okay, at this point, I know I need to do it. I know what it needs to look like. I'm gonna hire somebody else to figure it out. Right. Like I'm going to take this off my plate. I'm going to delegate it to somebody and we're just going to not worry about this. Right? And I'm going to figure this out in a different way, but I'm still going to achieve my goal. And then I said, of course, make some time to reflect on your processes and then always think about what you can do now. Like, I think our goals are very big picture items, but there are always things that contribute to us not completing or not getting to those goals. And most of the time, those things are our limiting beliefs. And if we figure out how to just break those down, like, why is this? Why am I not? What is keeping me back? Right? Like, and is that thing that's keeping me back? How is it serving me or protecting me and keeping me from that goal? Like, just think about the small pieces that you can do now. If it's writing down your process so you can, someday increase your capacity. If it's breaking things down week by week, month by month, as it relates to your own goals and your own next steps, do that. But the biggest key to business and to me growing in business is consistency. It's showing up every day, right? Performing, taking calculated risks, but it's that consistency. And so, what can you do now that's going to lead you to that success later, right? Is that's something that I often, like to sort of um, think about and ruminate on. Questions on any of that? Any thoughts? Any reflections? Okay, cool. And the name of that, and I'm gonna I'm gonna type the or put in the chat the name of the book that I think people should think about um, related to limiting beliefs, and that's it. I didn't want to say it on the Zoom, but I put it in the chat. um, awesome. Okay. So general questions on other things related to growing in your business. I do believe, right, another piece that contributes to the lack of growth in our business, right, of course, is a fear of success, but I also think it's there are other things, of course, related to that. One, am I doing something that is not connected to my own strategy, not connected to my own gifts and talents? Sorry, trying to get back to this screen. Am I doing something that is not um giving me sort of life, right? Like what are the things that I continue to pursue that totally don't make any sense for me, and they're totally taking me away from my gifts and talents and visioning for my business? Like what does that look like? How is it keeping me from my goals, and what do I need to readjust to make sure I'm on the right path? And so, I have a screen for myself as it relates to constantly getting to my goals consistently, right? Like one, I'm a big I'm results driven. So I set a monetary goal for myself for my business, every year I set a monetary goal. I'm constantly checking my numbers, right, to figure out if I'm getting to that goal, checking the monthly, quarterly. I even, I don't have a large company, right? I have two other folks that I work with and a number of consultants, but I am consistently even checking, how much money daily do we need to bring in order for us to get to that goal as well. And so, like, one, what is keeping you from looking at constantly rechecking towards your goal, right? Are there limiting beliefs that are keeping you, like I said, from getting to those goals? And then how do you eliminate the things that don't keep you focused on those goals? And so, there could be things like, like personally, right? I have a family. I have, my son gets out at 2:30 at school, or 2:45. So I have to be available to pick him up because my husband has a traditional 9 to 5. And so I have to work. Right? I have to work. And so, but I still have my goals. So what do I have to do? I have to figure out how to get up an extra couple hours so that I can work. Right. And so you have to, are there things like that are keeping you from getting to those goals? And can you create those action steps to keep you focused on those things? Just eliminate or figure out the things that are in your way, and create some actions that help you get to that. And maybe that means, when my kids go to bed, it's 9 o'clock, I have to go to bed, right? I have to get a good night, rest in order to extend my day by a couple hours, because I know that I'm picking up my son by 2:45. So instead of working till 5 o'clock before, now I can only work to 2:45. I need another couple hours. So I need to wake up at 4 a.m. and work from 4 to 6. Like, it's a little crazy, but it works for me, right? Are there those things that are getting in the way of you achieving those goals? And you need to just break them down and create some action plans for yourself. The same way you would action plan around your client, apply it to your life. Apply it to your life. Okay. And I see procrastination in the chat. Um, yeah, procrastination is a very real thing. It is, it is such a habit that I think most of us continuously employ. But you know, if we think about breaking things down, break them down and do not look at the big task. Like that's the one thing I get too overwhelmed with all the tasks that I have. And that's why I do, yes, I do quarterly planning, but I also do week by week planning. This week, I'm going to take some time and I'm just going to go through and I'm going to read a bunch of stuff related to a project. And next week I'm going to, think about my I don't know, my, what I read and do some reflections. And then the next week, I'm going to start drafting, right? You just have to break down those tasks so you don't get overwhelmed. And when you do that, you set up these deadlines, right? That get you to that sort of, that last deadline because you're constantly putting deadlines on yourself. I will say I use a lot of tools to sort of help me think through that. So Asana is, of course, such a solid project management tool, but I encourage you, especially with some of these, as you're breaking down your limiting beliefs, like really think through other project management platforms that can help you just break down some tasks for yourself so certain things are just not getting in your way, right? Like I see it in Asana, it comes to me, I assign it to myself, and I see it in an email for whatever reason, like it makes me do the thing. Like I get the thing done because I put it out there. I've given it a deadline, right? I said I'm gonna have the capacity. So that means I'm forcing myself to apply for RFPs, knowing good and well I need to figure out how to hire. But if it comes, right, I'm gonna just create those action steps to figure out how to make it happen for myself. Um, and sometimes we just got to do it. And then the last thing, of course, is it your pricing, right? Like, I talk often with entrepreneurs around, you know, especially related to revenue, because I feel like that is like a lot of people say things like, money shouldn't be the only goal. And you're right, it should not. But money is definitely it is what makes the world go round, unfortunately. Like you cannot pay your bills with dreams and affirmations or with limiting beliefs or growth. You can't pay your bills with those things. So you have to pay your bills with money, right? And in order to pay your bills, you have to have revenue that is going to come into your business so that you can pay those bills. And are you pricing yourself appropriately? What does that look like? What limiting beliefs do you have around your own pricing strategies, right, that are keeping you from your goals? And I definitely try to encourage everyone come up with a monetary goal every year, and that's where you start basing your pricing on, right? Like you can do it on an hourly basis, of course. You can do it on a per project basis, but come up with a monetary goal um as it relates to that monetary goal, right? I always just divide that monetary goal divided by 52 weeks a year. I take off another couple weeks, right? Thinking about vacation. And then I factor in I come up with an hourly rate connected to that by factoring in what, say I work a typical 40-hour work week. And I come up with an hourly rate. That was my base rate that I came up with my pricing for that. That incorporated my sort of 2 weeks of vacation and all of that. And then I added some extra percentage onto that because I also know it costs money to administer my business. And so once I started with that, started with putting out something that sort of got me to my goal that was directly connected to my own monetary goal for my business, I felt more comfortable proposing that as a pricing strategy because it was connected to my goal. It had nothing to do with what the market could bear, because I think that's a lot of what people do. They price things based on the market, and I think that's important in certain businesses, but I'm a consultant, right? And so this is about what I value and what I think my worth is. And so I connect it to my monetary goals. And of course, if you do government work or have government contracts or different type of contracts, you have to price things a little differently, and that's a whole different workshop. But I just think everything should be always connected to your own goals, everything in your business, including your pricing. And so, you know, with a growth mindset, with limiting beliefs, really think about I have goals, right? I have goals that I need to accomplish. What is keeping me from those goals, right? And how do I need to change how I view those goals by creating affirmations? And then how do I achieve on those affirmations? I need to create some action steps to get there. And so that was a real roundabout way of encouraging you to really think through your growth strategies. Or your growth mindset for your business. I think it's possible. I think we all are capable of doing this. And so I just want to just encourage you to think about that a little bit. I don't know, I hope that was helpful. Are there questions in the chat? Type them, ask me.
I have a question, LaTrenda. So for one of the pricing ones from your last thought there, so how do you, in a way, sort of like, I think you said started off with like, you know, you start with your revenue goal that you want to make of the year and things like that. But as you're starting off, you know, like you're like very new to entrepreneurship and things like that, maybe you might be, you know, pricing, you might be afraid of like really, you know, going in, but like strong in pricing and your revenue goal. How do you like, you know, cultivate a mindset that say, you know, just try and test things out and see how it goes, or just embrace it and then go forward, you know, sort of like, have you dealt with people like that before, with, you know, new entrepreneurs, and how do you price them? How do they figure out their pricing?
Yeah, well, I would say I would totally start with those limiting beliefs and those affirmations, right? And so I think about, you know, as an entrepreneur, right, the idea that people are not going to pay me or see me as relevant or worthy is a limiting belief. And so really thinking about, I have skills and assets and abilities that someone is going to pay me for. Thus, I need to create a pricing structure that will lead to that payment. And so I usually start with, and sometimes this is not the best thing to start with, but when I was in my last full-time role, right, I started with my salary from my full-time job, at least, because I knew I could pay my bills if I just had that as a starting point, right? And so start with that and break it down, you know, to get to an hourly rate. And of course, I think there are tons of online tools to do that, but like a basic thing, it to me is really just, I guess you would I took off 2 weeks per year for like vacation. And then so 50 weeks, dividing whatever I want to make by 50 weeks, getting that amount which would be sort of my hour or my take home per week, and then dividing that by 40 hours. If in case I wanted to get like an actual 40-hour per hour rate, that could give you a basic, a basic hourly rate. And then for real, tack on, I would say between 10 and 20% for administration for your business. And that's a basic rate. Now, most of the time when people do that, they are totally pricing themselves and underpricing themselves. It's just a thing, but at least it's a place to start where people know that they can pay their bills. But it has to be connected to your own goals. Like if you only worry about the market, if you only, I feel like you're never going to create an action around getting to revenue for yourself.
Thank you. That was really helpful for sure. Any other questions? All right.
I hope it was helpful.
It was really, really helpful. Thank you so much, LaTrenda, for this. We really appreciate your time and your insights and the presentation. So thank you so much. Please connect with LaTrenda. We have her contact information there, and we also will be sharing via the survey. Please fill out the survey as well. Tell us how we did. And I hope to see our holiday presentation on December 8th. And again, thank you, LaTrenda, and thank you everybody for joining. So this is it, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank y'all.